and millions of my fans. Yes, our live stream tends to go down every episode just because we have too many people watching. That's not true. That's absolutely not the truth. Anyway, my name is IanTheHRPro. I'm an HR consultant here in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and today we are talking about Indigenous allyship. So anything Indigenous relations, um, Indigenous, whatever, arts and crafts, just anything Indigenous. Racism, that's a big topic on this day. Uh, we talk about Indigenous businesses because I'm Indigenous. Yes, I'm a member of the Big Stone Cree Nation in Northern Alberta, which is Treaty 8 territory. And I run a live podcast. It is scary. It is nasty. It is. But we are, as always, streaming on 5 different locations right now. We are on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter, all live streaming, hopefully. And I ask you to please ask your questions in the comments. I'll try to keep the chat open. There's a bit of a delay from when you ask a question or make a comment to when I see it. So if I'm ignoring you, it's only for a minute or two, really. Earl Grey tea in my Big Stone Cree Nation coffee mug. What's going on? Forgot to put on the Halloween font. Look at that scary, bloody font. Ooh. And of course, we forgot to put some music on again. Here's some Halloween music. Oh, yeah. How's that look? Does that look all right? Is this scary? There is no escape. It's a little bit scary. So I don't know how loud it is on your end. I try to keep the volume down to I don't know, it's like at 20, 25%. I wish I had a number that I could just set it to. As always, let me know if the volume on the music is too loud and you can't hear me. I have spent a little bit of money on this amazing Blue Yeti microphone. It's the mini Blue Yeti, not the big giant one. And I put a new light bulb behind me here. Look at this. Put a new light bulb in that light behind my fake cactus. The old light bulb was this bulb, and it was giving off a yellow light, soft yellow light. Now this one I put in here, it's the same, obviously the same thing. It's one of those chandelier bulbs. This one is like super white, bright, and I tried to block it a little bit. My cactus is in the way. It's pretty bright. Anyway. And of course, I don't know if anyone noticed, but I have a new light here behind this picture of me and my wife. And it can be any color I want. It's kind of a cool thing. I can change it with the remote control that came with it. So I can do all these light colors, and I can set it to turn off after a certain amount of time. I can make it brighter or darker. I mean, I don't think it's going to make any difference if I try to make it brighter, because I try to get lots of light. So I have my big light that's right in front of me over here on the side to get this side of me. And then I use the window. I got the window open on this side. It's about half blinded down right now. Yesterday it was so rainy and dark out. I had it like full up and it still felt like it was dark. Oh yeah, Halloween week. I used to love Halloween as a kid. My God, such a such a fun time. Now as an adult, I'm closer to that end of the life spectrum than start. So it's like, no, I don't need to be wandering around a bunch of skeletons and monsters and things like that. Um, and and I'm a big scaredy cat, so I love a good jump scare, and my wife loves to go to scary movies, so we'll go watch the Nun movies, the Conjuring movies, all that. Those are just awesome movies, but I jump more than she does. They scare the pants out of me with their jump scares, and uh, the algorithm on social medias, especially TikTok, they know I love them jump scare videos where they're filming someone getting scared. There's stuff on my cup. So I like a good jump scare, but I'm not really into doing the jump scare and trying to scare people, because I'm scared I'm gonna really make I'm scared I'm gonna make someone really mad, and they'll be mad at me, so I don't do it. But I'll think of something funny and just start laughing, and it's usually like a jump scare situation. Oh, it'd be so funny if I went and did that, but I just can't do it. Someone needs a haircut. I need to fire my stylist, or maybe I just need to actually hire a barber. So, Indigenous relations today. Ask your questions in the comments and we'll cover a bunch of stuff. I guess the first topic I want to talk about today is something that I feel is important. When we name something, a street, a building, a community, whatever, a ballroom, whatever we name things, it's because in some way, shape, or form we respect that person, we honor that person, so we want to give them some sort of acknowledgement. And I know here in downtown Edmonton, there's a medical building owned by the Big Stone Cree Nation, and one of their rooms, I think it's just exam rooms on the second level, is named after my granny, Louise. And it's really nice to see that, and I'm really excited about things like that, because she did a lot, especially later in her life, to really support the community as much as she could. She sat on some boards and was trying to give her Indigenous elder knowledge to the people. However, she served, especially with the school when they were building our new school up in Wabasca on the Big Stone Cree Nation. So I'm really proud when I see stuff like that. But if we're talking Indigenous relations and colonialism and things like that, we in Canada, for the most part, a lot of people still believe in the crown. In Canada, our head of state is the king or queen of the United Kingdom. Right now, that being Charles. And things get named after that. And some, we get royal names. Royal such and such, right? And that's because the crown has given their permission to use that royal name. And there's a a road not too far from here in downtown Edmonton called Kingsway, and they named it Kingsway because the king's grandfather, I believe, made a visit to Edmonton, and they named the road after him because that's the road he rode into town on, because the airport used to be right there, the municipal airport, and that's gone now. But I think he landed there and then came into town that way, but I don't remember. I obviously wasn't around in like 1920 or whenever the heck that was, right? But we have a lot of neighborhoods in Edmonton that have royal names. Queen this, princess that, prince this, king whatever, right? And these names, they're here. And maybe not directly racist. I know we had a community in downtown Edmonton, which is now called Witwitwin, and they chose to give it an Indigenous name. And the issue was that the previous name was honoring a person who used to own a newspaper here in Edmonton, and he published blatantly racist articles in his magazine, in his newspaper. So there's direct evidence that this person that has been honored was a racist in the early 1900s or whenever that was happening. So they named the neighborhood after him, because at that time he was seen as, influential business person in the community. So fast forward 80 years or however long that community had that name, they decided to change it. And there's always pushback on these things. This community name was obvious, factually honoring a racist person. And that makes it easier to say, no, let's honor someone that deserves it, or call it a name that better represents us. So that's obvious. We can do that. In my neighborhood, the name is Queen Mary Park. Queen Mary of Teck was the Queen of Canada. This is the current king's great-grandmother, I believe, or grandmother? No, great. I think it's great-grandmother. Let's open up a window. Let's have a look. Let's share my search window. Try to leave my chat open so I can see. Why am I so small? There, now I'm bigger. So, Queen Mary of Teck. Queen Mary Park is named after Mary of Teck, right? Queen Consort of the United Kingdom. Mary of Teck was Queen of the United Kingdom and British Dominions and Empress of India from May 6th, 1910 until January 20th, 1936 as the wife of King Emperor George V, born and raised in, right? So let's zoom in. I love Wikipedia. Of course, if you're doing a research project, don't reference Wikipedia itself. Find the link. There's all kinds of references on here. Go to that place and reference that. So Mary of Teck, right? George the Fifth. Doesn't show the children. Is this? Anyway, she's married to George the Fifth. And let's go to, oh man, George V was King of the United Kingdom and British Dominions and Emperor of India. So he died in 1936, right? Look at that face. So putting that in a new tab. Let's go to that, right? Then we look at maybe it's here. Look at that. Look at that. Tsar Nicholas II of Russia. First cousins. They look like they are brothers. With the right image together, when they're standing beside each other in some photos, they look like twins. Like, I mean, I'm sorry, I just, you know, you try to keep that royal bloodline royal. So what do you got to do? You got to keep it in the family, right? So, but that was a side quest there, right? So, Mary of Teck. Okay. Smoking related health problems. He's succeeded by his oldest son, Edward the Edward the Eighth, right? And then he abdicated. And then Prince Albert took the name as George IV or George VI. And of course, this is Queen Elizabeth's mother. So, King Charles, Queen Elizabeth, George VI, and then Edward. No, George V, and George V was married to Mary of Teck. So that was the current king's parent, grandparent, great grandparent. So Mary of Teck is our current king's great grandmother, and she was the Queen of Canada during that time when George V was the King of Canada at that time. So we have our neighborhood, my neighborhood that I currently live in, called Queen Mary Park. We are honoring Queen Mary of Teck, right? George V's wife. So now, I did the research. I didn't definitively find anything that indicated that she was a raving racist or didn't like Indigenous people or anything like that. Like there was nothing obvious, but royal family stuff, that stuff's kind of kept secret or kept under wraps. We don't know what someone's personal opinions are, and some of the royals, did seriously take their role as a royal serious. So, something in my throat, as always. So now we have this community that's honoring British royalty. And is that directly racist in nature? With this particular person? Maybe not. But the concept of royalty, the concept of the one nation taking over another country, colonizing it, and the history of colonization allowing slavery and terra nullius and this doctrine of discovery, allowed by the church and these royal governments so that people can just go take lands and kill people, quite frankly. There's this history of monarchs being cruel to the indigenous people of the world, and we are at that point where the rights of indigenous people around the world, not just here in Canada, are being fought for, starting to get some traction and respect. So we have things like the UN DRIP, and Canada approved the UN DRIP in, I think, 2016 or 2017. It is law in Canada. This new act, it is law stating that we have to respect Indigenous people. And there's a whole list of things that have to be done, and that's where the pre and prior informed consent stuff comes from. Like, if you're going to go take some natural resources from some land, you got to make sure you inform the local Indigenous groups and possibly cut a deal with them so they get a little bit of money, or face the fact that they might not want you there because whatever you're doing might be destructive to the traditional ways of life. Now, that's all in good when you're thinking about out in the woods where nobody really lives. But this is downtown Edmonton. Queen Mary Park. I was on the Community League board when we approved a logo. Oh, beautiful logo. It's like, looks like a crown, but the crown pieces are people holding hands, like a really nice community logo. And I just love it. It's a great logo. So let's share the Queen Mary Park Community League website. So here's the website. Make me bigger again. So this is our hall, but this is our logo here, right? It looks like people holding hands with picket fences, right? It was a really great rebranding at the time. I believe this was like 2012, 2013, right in there. It was a really great rebrand. And we used purple because of the royal color and things like that. But since that time, the world has changed. And the name doesn't seem appropriate anymore. I'm currently on the board with my wife, and this is something that I'm trying to deal with. I really want to see a name change, and I want to see the community honor someone that's worth honoring, and possibly respect our current situation as a community. And so what our current identity is as a group of people living in downtown Edmonton. And absolutely, I'm not looking to change the name to some Indigenous name. That's not my goal. My goal is stop using a possibly racist name, right? The thought of honoring the monarchy is becoming distasteful. It is changing. The world is changing. Me as an Indigenous person, it almost feels like an insult, like a backhanded, haha, remember we beat you and we took your lands, right? Like it feels like a backhanded reminder. And when I think about the demographics of our community, the second largest demographic in Queen Mary Park is Somali people. And why aren't we doing something to honor them, to respect them? But when you think about people from Africa, they experienced colonialism just like we did here in Canada. Naturally, their experiences were different from what we experienced. And there's a million different things out there. But yeah. So my goal is to change the name, and as long as it's not honoring a dark side of our history as people. We must always remember our shared history. We must always remember where we all came from and try to learn from these things. So this isn't about forgetting history. This isn't about, covering up history. I mean, that has already been done for Indigenous people. Indigenous people's histories have been suppressed. And just now, in the last, couple decades, we're starting to respect that and honor that and try to bring that back out. And it's a long road. And part of that, now that we're moving past this situation, is can we continue to honor people and situations and times when things were dark and bad, and it's just a slap in the face for some people? Thank you very much, spammer on Twitch. Almost every time I've been streaming onto Twitch, someone spams cheapviewerssteamboo.com. Oh my god, they're trying hard to steal viewers from Twitch over to this Steamboo website. I get spammed every time. Thank you for making a comment and possibly making my stream even better on Twitch. Thank you. The spamming bot. Here it is. Here's the spammer. There you go, spammer. It's all the time you get. It's all you get, spammer. That's funny. Anyway, something else I want to talk about, and gotta find it on my computer. I gotta find it. But in relation to this name change things, like it's not directly racist, right? But it's indirectly, and anyone in the world who's been colonized by a monarchy or a country that is a monarchy should be insulted by a name that starts with a royal name, Queen Mary. Right? Like, it's an insult. It's time for it to go. We're moving into the future, and we need to make sure that we're being equitable and happy for everyone. Like, nobody can be left behind. Nobody can be oppressed. And the people that society is currently designed for will feel like they're being attacked when they're not. When everyone has a big piece, well, if everyone has a piece of cake, but one person has a bigger piece of cake, how should you react? Well, everybody else is going to be like, well, why is that person getting a bigger piece of cake? So if we're trying to be equitable, everybody gets a little more cake to make their cake the same size, then everyone's equal. But in that situation, the person who initially had the bigger piece of cake is now getting upset because they didn't get more cake also when everyone else got more cake. You already had more cake, man. You can't be upset when you have all the cake and everyone else is finally starting to get some cake. My God. How are we supposed to eat cake if we don't get cake? So, anyway. Let me look at... There's something I haven't talked about on here yet. This one. Open that up. And let's share that. Just making it a good size. Let's look at this. This is an interesting document. I found it quite a few years ago, and I like to use it when I am talking about racism. So here we go. This basically applies for every group that might be racialized in some way, shape, or form. Well, that doesn't quite let us see what's going on there. How's that now? Oh. All right. I'll make myself little. This way we can see it better. So where on the racism scale, where do you fall? So the absolute racism we can call terrorism, right? I would have killed a black person simply for being black. I inflict fear upon black people on purpose. Violent blackface, depict hangings, etc. Like this is, you say black people, you say LGBTQ people, you say indigenous people, you even say women here, right? That's the violence, the terrible violence of being a racist. We got the overt racism, which I kind of mentioned. Here in Canada, we have covert racism, and this is overt racism. I inflict fear upon black people as a joke. Whites are the superior race. Blacks should be sent back to Africa. Whites are under attack, and will be minorities soon. That's that believing, since everybody else got the same amount of cake you got, you're believing that you're being oppressed, right? Yet the system, especially in Canada, is still designed to help white males, basically, right? We're moving into subconscious racism. So blacks are naturally more violent and less intelligent. So we think about black people in the army and the navy and things like that. They weren't given infantry jobs. They were to cook. Get in your kitchen, cookie, right? Like these are where these thoughts are coming from, because they didn't want black people to serve in the regular military, right? The way things are is God's will. Oh, black people or indigenous people or women, they're all oppressed because that's the will of God, right? I mean, read your spiritual books. I don't think that's what God is saying. Anyway, I'm not racist, but I get this a lot. I get this sort of pushback. I'm all for respecting indigenous people, but why do we have to do a land acknowledgement every meeting? And that's something I should start doing on the show. I totally forgot, because if I'm in a meeting, usually with like more than 3 people or at some public venue, or when I'm facilitating the Kairos blanket exercise with my wife, we make sure we do a land acknowledgement at all those events. But I haven't been doing it here on the show. And I think moving forward, that's something I will do. So, subconscious racism, they're thugs. These people are just thugs, right? And then there's the funny blackface, right? The vaudeville comedy blackface, white person with the black face and the white gloves. The white gloves. Mickey Mouse. A lot of our cartoons, they're wearing white gloves. This is from the racist roots of the old black-faced comedians, because they were depicting black people as racist, and these gloves came along into our cartoons. Now, they try to cover this up and say cartoons or the blackface people, they wore white gloves so that they could see, so you could better see what they were doing with their hands, or their jokes, their magic tricks, their whatever they might have been doing, just so you could see them better. But why do modern day cartoons need to continue to have these white gloves? Right? This is a racist fallback, something that hasn't gone away yet. Indifference. Now, see this box up here? This box here, and it continues onto the second level. So, feelings of white guilt can lead to and compound many of these behaviors. So white guilt, maybe we'll have to look that up or something, or define that a little bit more. But you're getting into indifference here on the scale. That is their problem, not mine. Right? Why should I concern myself with changing the name of that community? Because I've got no problem with royalty. Right? Indigenous people's problem, not mine. That has nothing to do with me. Same thing. You're definitely not an ally trying to support Indigenous people at this point, right? Or black people, or whoever's being racialized, right? How am I privileged if I am poor? So, without a doubt, yes, there are poor white people in Canada and the United States and around the world, without a doubt. But there are more rich and powerful white people around the world than any other race. This is fact. And, so systemic systems are set up a certain way. So even if you're cis white male, if you don't own property or have a high-paying job, you can still be oppressed in that system, right? Because voting was for male landowners when voting first started. Male landowners. Only white males were allowed to own land. Women weren't allowed to own land, and certainly people of color were not allowed to own land. So, as we slowly break away from this, now everybody's allowed to vote, except we get these draconian rules and gerrymandering of ridings, especially down in the United States, right? We can only vote in these times, and sometimes they close down the number of voting stations, so people have to wait hours and hours to go vote. Why are they doing that? They're trying to make elections cheaper, they say. But it's really racism and trying to make it so the poor people don't vote out rich people. Yes, absolutely. Some people can be poor and still be white. That's truth. That's truth. But with the ratio, it's not comparable. But black on black crime. Oh my God. Yes. Black people are more violent. Indigenous people are more violent here in Canada. Because Indigenous people account for like 25% of the people in our prison systems. Yet, Indigenous people currently only account for about 5% of Canadians. It's rising. It might be at something like 6% now. But no, this is systemic racism in our system. We are trained in our systems to be racist. Even if we don't think we are racist, someone somewhere in the training of you learning the system, either we're indoctrinated into the system just like you were, or we're blatantly racist. So that's where we have people of color getting pulled over for no reason and getting beat up and killed by the cops, because the cops have been trained to be scared of people of color, of certain nationalities, right? They're trained to be extra vigilant when dealing with these types of people. Same with security guards. I get followed around certain stores by the security guard. We've tested this. Me and my wife have walked in, we split up. I get followed by the security guard. She does not. My wife is white. She doesn't get followed around the store. I get followed around the store. When we started to have fabric bags instead of plastic shopping bags here in Edmonton, I started just carrying my fabric bag into the store, and I was using that as my shopping cart, my shopping basket. So I'd put in the items and I'd go to the till and I would empty out the bag and pay for everything and then load everything back into the bag. I had employees following me around the store one time, and when I got to the till, I was informed that I wasn't allowed to use my bag as my shopping bag in the store. It was branded that store logo. It was their bag. We'd purchased this bag from them. But because I was Indigenous, I was not allowed to use that bag. So from then on, when I went into the grocery store, I would grab one of their stupid plastic baskets and I'd squish my bag down to the bottom of that basket and put my groceries on top. I did this a few times, and even my wife didn't quite understand or comprehend. I don't even know if I told her when it happened right away. I certainly told her afterwards, after she started saying, well, why don't we just use the bag or something like that? And she totally understands now and understands my feelings towards this. I will never use my private outside bag to go shopping. I will grab a shopping cart. I will grab one of their stupid baskets, but I won't use my own bag because I will get accused of stealing something. I will get followed around the store. So, where are we? We're in the defensive zone of racism. It's just a joke. There was so many racist jokes I heard growing up. And there was a racist joke that I started telling. One of my mom's boyfriends, when I was in like junior high school or something like that, told me a joke. And I was young and naive, and this is, late 80s, early 90s, whatever. And I told that joke for 10, 15 years after that, until I finally realized that is a racist goddamn joke. That is a terrible, terrible joke. And I was young and naive thinking that it was a funny joke. In my understanding of the joke as a teenager, preteen, I didn't understand. It wasn't explained to me that the joke was racist. And nobody said anything to me. It was my own realization. I told the joke somewhere in like my late 20s. I told the joke, and when I said it, it finally clicked in that was a racist joke. Now I use it as a story of where, I was inadvertently being racist. This is similar to, we learn to work in the system. We have trained to be part of this system, but originally the system was racist, and it was designed to oppress people of color and women and other minority groups. Think about mobility. My stepmother moved in with us, and this was after she had a foot amputated, and now she primarily gets around with her wheelchair. And we had to do a bunch of repairs, renovations to the main floor. Doors had to get widened. The bathroom was almost doubled in size. The front door had to get bigger. We had to get a lift. We had to make the sidewalks wider at the front of the house. Right, and there was a lot more things that we could have get done. It's just he still had some struggles getting around. But during that time, we also started learning a lot about building standards and mobility and things like that, and how places have to get changed and things like that. That's fine. That happens. Older buildings, they get upgraded. But why isn't our current building standard just at that accessibility level? Like, that should be just normal building standard, right? Like, it should be normal to have flat doorways, to have wider doorways, to have wider hallways. I mean, okay, someone's going to argue, well, that's going to make a house so big and expensive. Not really. Not while you're building it. Not really. In fact, it might save money because you're not making doorways as small or something. Like, you save a couple 2x4s, right? So make the standard accessible, right, when it comes to building. So, but it's a joke. Now we continue in defensive. I just don't like ghetto. I mean, ghetto originally started with Jewish people getting unalived during World War II, right? That's where they sent people to the ghetto. And then the word ghetto transferred into black neighborhoods in the US, right? And it's also an insult when you think about black music and black culture in the United States. Ghetto's an insult. I heard another insult. Somebody doesn't like this jungle music, right? And they were referring to black culture, black rap music and R&B and things like that, right? Like, this is an insult. And they're obviously defensive that a person other than a white person can get rich and famous from an art form. So, more defensive. Calling the police because black folk makes you uncomfortable. Oh no. You don't belong in this neighborhood. We see this all the time. The cops pull up. Someone complained that there's some gangbangers out here. I think about straight out of Compton and about NWA and Ice Cube and things like that, and they were standing outside eating their like burritos in front of the recording studio where they were recording their album, and the cops show up and they're like, force them on the ground, make them drop their food, make them lay on the ground in their food, and just because they weren't in Compton, they weren't in a black neighborhood, they were in a different white respectable neighborhood. So someone thought they were a bunch of gang members on the side of the street. No, they were artists recording music. Anyway, continue on. Justification. What about reverse racism? Oh my God, there's no such thing as reverse racism. A society has been designed to do something for a certain race of people. So we're in Canada. The Canadian government has been designed, the system that we use is inherently designed to support white people. So you can't be racist to the people where the system was designed to help them. That's not a thing, reverse racism. We go back to the cake analogy, and since everybody got a little more cake, but the one person didn't get any more cake because they already had the larger amount of cake, they say, well, that's reverse racism because I didn't get any extra cake, even though they already had more cake to start with. If they had just, oh no. If you had have gone to school, if you had have, with Indigenous people, if you had have just moved off the reserve and integrated into society, you and your family would be fine, right? Like this is the sort of justification. Like you had an opportunity to change. Well, in the case of Indigenous people, nobody wanted to change. Indigenous traditional ways of life were adequate. More than adequate. We were living here on this land for almost 40,000 years before any white people showed up, right? Like it was fine. All right, here we go. I have black friends. Okay, so my God. So I have had friends who would still tell racist jokes or make racist comments, not overtly towards me, but they would, say jokes against black people, and I felt like they felt they could tell this type of joke because they were friends with me, an Indigenous person, right? Oh, there's a cat hair or something bugging my face. Get off my face! So just because you have a friend in that group doesn't mean you get to treat them differently. Where are we? We had a black president, therefore black people are not oppressed. Oh my God. Well, that black president was also a rich black president. So there was some connection to the people that a rich white president didn't have because of the racial similarities. But it's still not a perfect system. That black president was still working within the system, right? I don't see color. Oh boy, I wish that was the way the world was, right? But people say they don't see color, but then they still support this system that benefits them. Think about that. This is like denial stage here. Racism no longer exists. Oh, that's because we're moving into the covert racism situation, right? It may not be overt. You don't necessarily see people running down the street yelling racist slurs at people. It still happens, and we still see things like me getting racially profiled at a grocery store, cops still pulling over people of color, drunken idiots beating up members of the LGBTQ community, right? Indigenous women still going missing. in this day and age. Racism is here. We're just starting to chip away and create laws and legislation that are making it go away, but it's still here. And it's going to be here for a while. And slavery ended 200 years ago. Oh, wow. Wow, okay. You know, Indian residential schools ended in 1996, so we're all good. Like, there's no more oppression of Indigenous people in Canada, right? Right? Intergenerational trauma here in Canada. I am one generation away from residential schools. My uncles, aunts, my mother for a very short time, all experienced Indigenous residential schools in some way, shape, or form. And of course, my grandparents on my mom's side, they experienced it full on, head on, right? And this generational trauma really sticks with the family. So think about other people of color, especially black people in the United States, who come from this slave history, this terrible dark time where people were ripped from their cultures and made slaves and had no connection to who they are as a people. Right? That is traumatizing. That is generational, absolutely. And the racism that continued. Okay, slavery ended 200 years ago, but segregation, Jim Crow, like that stuff all ended officially like in the 60s and 70s. But you still have people that lived during that period living now who taught their kids the same racist ways and things like that. It takes time for the racists to stop being racist, and it takes time for the people being racialized to heal. It takes time, man. A long time. And yeah, slavery ended 200 years ago. Denial that racism even exists anymore. I'm going to write a note here in my system. Done. Top part of racism scale. So next episode, next week, I'm going to continue, or when I get a chance, I'm going to continue this this scale, and we'll go over the bottom part. So it's a whole nother section that we need to talk about. This is the dark times. Stop sharing that. Put me back to full. So we'll talk more about that next live, next Tuesday. I put a note, so hopefully I don't remember. There's stuff I've been doing, and I forgot to put a note, so I don't know what the heck we talked about last episode. So I gotta make sure I have better notes. I'm not gonna take any more questions. All we got today was the Spammer McSpammerson from Twitch. And what else is going on? If you need to talk to me about HR stuff or You want to hire me for some Indigenous relations stuff. If you want to hire me and my wife to come do the Kairos blanket exercise, follow this link up in the top corner for all my links. That goes to my link tree, which is here on the screen now. linktr.ee/IanTheHRPro. All my important links are there. And if you need to get a hold of me, do it. If you are watching this after the fact, go ahead and make a comment anyway. And I'll try to address that at the next episode too, or I'll answer you directly on the platform where you commented. Maybe. I spend most of my time on YouTube, so it might be easier and better if you comment on YouTube because I see those sooner. What's going on? Today was Tuesday. Indigenous Relations, Indigenous Allyship Day. Tomorrow is Wednesday, and we're talking about side gigs, side hustles, aka small business marketing. So we're talking about your small business, we're talking about your side hustle that you're trying to grow, and the things you need to make that successful. And I may update everybody. I took some stats from my YouTube channel where this is being streamed, and all my shorts are going there too. I made a stat chart so we can see. I made this lovely little graph, and it shows how my audience and views are growing on YouTube since I started doing this. I did the whole year, so you can see what I've been doing through the whole year, and then we can talk about that. So it's kind of we're approaching the end of the year. I think for sure I'm going to continue trying to live stream every day until the new year. For sure I'm probably going to do that, so all of November and all of December, and I may continue to do it at this pace in January and February too. I want to get enough months in, enough stuff in, enough proof to see if my efforts are working to build my business. So I'll talk more about that tomorrow. And on Thursdays, we do career clubs. So we do resumes, cover letters, job hunts, promotions, whatever with job stuff. We'll talk more about that. And I think there was something I was continuing from last week. Again, I don't remember. I was like on a roll and thinking, yeah, that's good. And Friday is fun and games. Basically, it'll allow me to talk about anything and everything. We'll talk about board games, Dungeons and Dragons, Magic the Gathering, music, movies, pop culture, anything, video games. We talk about video games. Anything you want to talk about, we'll talk about it there. And that's my creative outlet day, right? Allows me to talk about anything I want. And it's my live stream, it's my live podcast, so I can do what I want. I can do what I want. If you enjoy it, thanks. If you don't enjoy it, don't watch it again. Don't make any nasty comments. Just go away. Go away. Yeah. So we're done there. I'm Ian Hopfe. I'm an HR consultant here in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And I will see you tomorrow. I'm going to let you go early because I got a meeting right at 1 o'clock that I got to go to. So I got to get ready. Okay. Talk to you later. Bye.